Hey folks, it's your man Sean back again with this month's the May edition of Ask AssetIntel, our monthly webcast where we bring in one of our team members who answers your questions that help you understand AssetIntel a little bit better. This month, we have got our Chief Growth Officer, Joe Garvey. And Joe has a lot of experience over a few decades in the asset infrastructure industry, and he has helped a lot of SaaS organizations to grow with his amazing business development and growth marketing skills. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk to Joe. Hey guys, we have Joe with us. Joe, as I had mentioned before, has decades of experience in the asset infrastructure industry, and he serves as a huge knowledge base for all of us at AssetIntel. Whenever we do have challenges in understanding things, Joe is the guy. So apart from that, Joe being our Chief Growth Officer, he helps us a lot in planning and strategizing our growth markets and how we should approach them. So welcome, Joe. Thanks for giving us the time for the webcast.
Yeah, it's great to be here with you, Sean. I'm pretty impressed with what's going on at AssetIntel, and I'm happy to talk about anything I can help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe, for the time. All right, so we will quickly dive into the questions that we have for us. So let's start off a little bit going back. So going back a little bit, what first sparked your interest in growth strategy and leadership? Like, was it like a straight path, or were there like a series of curveballs?
Well, so first thing, I think that my inspiration for what I do today comes from just being, you say, decades of experience. I've been so fortunate to have been surrounded by great mentors of mine. I've been very fortunate in terms of leaders who are, some of them no longer with us in this world, have made a big impact on me. So I've been very fortunate at that. But I think ultimately growth to me is about improving the world. Just the inherent ability to make the world better. And I don't really think much about it. It's just who I am. As far as leadership, you've got to be able to lead if you're going to grow. Only a single person can only make so much impact. So ultimately, you need to get other people engaged and energized to help us make the world what we want it to be. And to do that, we've got to, in our case, we need more eyeballs using the software, but ultimately it's because we want better infrastructure. So to me, growth ends up, how do you make the world a better place on a genuine level? But we've got real engineering and business activities required to do that.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So another thing that I wanted to ask was about your segue into AssetIntel. So we know that you have held a lot of leadership roles across your career, but what stood out for AssetIntel? What made you say yes to AssetIntel?
Well, really two things come to mind, Sean. The first, I've been very impressed with the founders, Human, Kenny, Ayush. Everything I've known about them, and I've spent more time working with Human than anybody, but just high integrity. When you've got high integrity people, you can make mistakes, you can make the wrong decision, but if you're doing it for the right reasons, and I can tell you I'm very fortunate in my world to be able to be wherever I want to go, and I make a very clear decision in my head to work with the kinds of people, and they represent that. So that was one element. The second, on maybe a more traditional area, is the genuine client enthusiasm. I mean, I was been very impressed to see how many current customers of ours really recognize the people and the product and so forth in the company. And so from that perspective, that's a good place to start leaning into, and I've been thrilled ever since. Especially, by the way, when you think about my role from a growth perspective, happy customers really make it a lot easier to grow the impact if you've got customers who really like working with us and the product that we offer.
Oh, definitely. Yep, that's so true. So can you share a defining moment of your time at AssetIntel when you felt like, yes, we are onto something here?
I'm trying to think of a specific time. I think it really was related to that last question. When I realized, I think there was a moment, I don't want to talk about specific agencies, but there was a time where some of the leadership of the agency was considering a change. And it was going to be a revolt from the users of the software if they were not going to continue with AssetIntel. And the way I learned about that was from the director from the agency who said, "Hey, I've never seen," they said they had not seen the users of anybody's software be so committed and really demanding that they continue to grow in the use of AssetIntel. So that doesn't happen very often. And I think that was really, I'm like, well, we are onto something. If you've got that level of enthusiasm and commitment by everyday users inside of a government sector, that's a big deal.
Awesome. That's great. So, Joe, how do you approach scaling a company that's deeply tied in government agencies and critical infrastructure?
Well, let's see. Let me think about that for just a moment. Scaling a company that's deeply tied to in the government area and critical infrastructure. I think there's two things there. First, you have to be effective. If you're not effective, you're not gonna be able to scale. So you have to be effective in the offer in your offering, and you've got to be efficient. Government agencies have very limited funds, and by the way, this is taxpayer money. So they're not just budgets and funding. These are tax dollars that the good people of whatever community has been doing with that, and so we've got to be very effective and efficient with the dollars. If you can do that, which I do believe AssetIntel has done a tremendous job with that, then you can scale. You've got to have the business systems in place. Good ideas are a good start, but you have effective and efficient operations for delivering that. And a lot of it comes down to the moral obligation of making sure that the benefits go to the taxpayers.
Awesome. That was interesting. Great. So, what's one leadership lesson that you live by that kind of shaped you in guiding your team and even your decisions?
So repeat the question again one more time. I don't understood.
Yep, sure. So, what's one of the leadership lessons that you live by that kind of shaped how you guide your teams and even decisions?
Yeah. This is a big one for me. We usually, when we're hiring people, we think, we have a position to fill, and then we look for somebody to fill that position. Now that's fine. That's totally legit. But when somebody comes into the organization, they also have some natural tendencies and some innate strengths. Those strengths should be tapped. They should be tapped on an individual level. And I've been very strong and been very fortunate with the outcome of tying and identifying and then playing to each individual person's strengths. You help people grow where they want to grow, basically. Don't help them be somebody they don't want to be. Human beings naturally lean towards where they want to go. Find a way. Now, there are times that what they want to do does not match your business needs. That's okay. That's not a loss. That's help them get where they need to go, which could be even a different organization. So when we're talking about leadership, though, leadership transcends, in my experience, transcends the business activity at the moment. It's helping people tie in to the business system that we have and play to their strengths. Even though the roles may be the same title, every individual plays their own strengths. And when they own the outcome because they are committed to it, you can really move mountains with that kind of approach.
Yeah, that's great. I totally agree with Joe over here, and I have that first-hand experience with Joe. I mean, we work very closely, quite a lot, and it's been really amazing to kind of like work with Joe, and his assistance and guidance, especially in me having to lead the marketing team with a lot of the industry knowledge and decisions and everything. That's been very, very helpful. So thanks for that, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. So another question that I wanted to check with you is regarding your time at AssetIntel and generally how you feel every day while you walk in. Well, I don't want to use walk in because we are a remote organization, but what's the most favorite part when you log in to AssetIntel every day or each day actually?
We all have better days than some days, right? We all have better months than other months. But what gets me going, and really, I do wake up with a sense of enthusiasm. My family sees it actually, which is really cool. Sometimes we don't recognize our own energy that we're producing, and it's been enjoyable for when I get feedback. But I really think we're making a very powerful, positive impact in the infrastructure and the safety and the protection of the taxpayer assets to help teachers get to schools to teach our children, to help truckers get food to grocery stores, to help doctors and nurses get to hospitals, right? I mean, infrastructure and what we do in the engineering sense is a bit narrow. What gets me excited about it is all true on the narrow engineering, but it's also true that the purpose of transportation infrastructure is for a healthy, vibrant, good society to move around and live. And I think we're playing a very tangible role in that, and that gets me excited every day.
That is awesome. Actually, that's so true. Even we feel that it's a very important role that AssetIntel plays, and that's a huge motivation for us. Awesome. Well, I have one final question, and that's generally from my end. So if Joe wasn't doing what he's doing right now, what would Joe Garvey be doing right now? Is that a tongue twister?
It's funny. I mentioned at the end, I've been so fortunate, even blessed with being in a world that I can make some decisions on where I want to be. And that was not always the case in my professional life. Sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do to support your family. But I've been very fortunate to be able to select the people I hang out with and the mission and the goals I work at. And so what would I do? Hard for me to answer that, but I'm sure it'll be around something similar. In fact, I like what we're doing. If Human had not found me, maybe I would have found Human. I don't know. But I would be doing something that says, let's make a positive impact and be part of an organization that has the ability to make a very scalable positive impact. Sometimes you can make a really good impact, but it's so small, it's really big for a few people. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Some people have referenced Mother Teresa. Not sure how much business activities Mother Teresa, but what people don't realize is her organizational impact. It wasn't just bending over and helping children, and she has an organization of thousands and tens of thousands of people who are serving that goal every day. So we see her as a picture with a young child helping, but the reality is the organization helps millions of children and millions. So when I think about what would I do if I wasn't at AssetIntel, I would find the type of an organization that can make that kind of positive, powerful, scalable impact, and I'd be involved.
Awesome. Well, that was all the questions that we had for this episode. I sincerely thank Joe because I know he has a very, very busy schedule for giving us the time for this webcast. Thank you so much, Joe, for giving us the time. And again, as I mentioned, Joe, with his experience and his expertise and having held all the leadership positions that he has kind of led the torch for us since the last couple of years, especially in our growth segments at AssetIntel. So thank you so much for that as well, Joe. Thanks for showing us the way as well.
Thank you, Sean. like what you guys are doing and what we're doing here at AssetIntel. Let's get the word out. Let's keep helping more people.
Awesome. Likewise. Hey folks, thank you so much for staying tuned in till the end of the video. Thanks to Joe for giving us the time to shoot the webcast. By the way, if you are looking for an incident management software that helps you prepare, plan, monitor, and respond to natural disasters like floods and earthquakes, we have Emergency X right here. At the same time, the Sneeby transition is nearing soon at your door. We've got Sneeby X right here. And also at the same time, stay subscribed and stay updated with AssetIntel.